he noticed a multitude of coffins surrounding the train station. He was told that of the 51,000 killed in the three-day battle in early July, only about a third had permanent internment. Early the next morning, November 19th, he arose early and by horseback toured the battlefield and saw thousands of the temporary shallow graves. The dedication ceremonies were to begin at noon, with some 15,000 people in attendance. However, the president was not to speak first, but instead one Edward Everett, a well-known orator of the time and also the president of Harvard University. Abraham Lincoln was asked only to give a few appropriate remarks towards dedicating the newly created cemetery. Everett spoke for over 2 hours. Lincoln spoke for barely 3 minutes. After it was over, Mr. Everett came up to the president and stated, "Sir, you have just eloquently stated in a matter of minutes in what I tried to say in 2 hours, but failed. I applaud you." The Gettysburg Address, consisting of 273 words, linked together by just 10 sentences, is regarded by most all historians as the single greatest speech in American history. Also, historians agree that President Lincoln's address dedicating the Gettysburg Cemetery was a prelude to Decoration Day, ordered by General Logan just 5 years later. And so, in his high-pitched tenor voice, laced with a Kentucky, Indiana drawl, he began to speak. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Applause. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We are met to dedicate a portion of it as the final resting place of those who here gave their lives that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our power to add or detract. Applause. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. Applause. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion. That we highly resolve that the dead shall not have died in vain. Applause. That the nation shall, under God, have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Long continued applause.
On January 1868, General Logan's comrades of the Grand Army of the Republic elected him Commander-in-Chief of the Order, and afterward honored him and themselves by twice re-electing him to the distinguished position. It was during his first incumbency that General Logan of Illinois was Commander-in-Chief of this military society, issued the order, which often afterward alluded to the proudest act of my life, setting apart the 30th day of May as a day in memory of the dead soldiers who lost their lives to perpetuate this union, a day on which to decorate their sacred graves and keep in mind their glorious deeds. In this order, having been generally complied with throughout the country with beautiful and touching ceremonies at the graves of the dead, Mr. Logan, on June 22nd, 1886, introduced a resolution to the House of Representatives to establish a decoration day, which was unanimously adopted. This memorable order, which was issued to all comrades of the Grand Army of the Republic throughout the land, was in these inspiring words. Headquarters, Grand Army of the Republic, Adjutant General's Office, 446 14th Street, Washington, D.C. General Orders number 11, May 5, 1868. 1. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of our comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in most every city, village, hamlet, and churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kinds of fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united together to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assist this result by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes. Their soldier lives were in the revelry of freedom to race and chains, and their deaths the tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that is consecrated wealth and taste of this nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of their slain defenders. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism or neglect, no ravage of the time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten. As a people, the cost of freedom, cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull and other hands slack, and our other hearts grow cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well, as long as light and warmth in life remains to us. Let us then, at the appointed time, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us, in this solemn presence, renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us. A sacred charge upon a nation's gratitude, the soldiers, the sailor's widow, and orphan. 2, it is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires that public press call attention to the order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades and all parties of the country. In time for compliance therewith. 3, department commanders will use their every effort to make this order effective. By order of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief, Official, N.P. Chapman, Adjutant General. Our speaker for today is retired from the Illinois State Geological Survey. He's a past commander of Champaign Post 24, Champaign County Council in the 19th District. He has also served the American Legion as both the department and national levels as historian. He is presently serving as a member of the National 100th Anniversary Committee of the American Legion. It's my pleasure to introduce past national historian Chuck Zielinski.
Before I start, to the veterans that are in the audience today, thank you for your service and welcome home. And should there be a Gold Star family in the audience, please know that the American Legion will not let the sacrifices of your loved ones be forgotten. So when JR asked me to do this, it was about 7 days out before the performance, and I said, JR, it's kind of close. He said, well, you know, he said, I thought maybe you'd talk about that 100th anniversary. I said, I really don't think that Memorial Day would be a proper time to be talking about a 100th anniversary celebration. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the words that the American Legion's speech for the day has been released. But I'm also going to talk about some of the programs that the American Legion has had through our 100 years to kind of remember what's going on around Memorial Day. United they stood, united they sacrificed. Just before Election Day in 2018, an American soldier in Afghanistan posted on Facebook, he wrote, and I quote, "As the USA gets ready to vote in our own election Tuesday, I hope everyone back home exercises their precious right to vote. And that whether the Republicans or the Democrats win, that we all remember that we have far more as Americans that unites us than divides us. United we stand, divided we fail. God bless America," end of quote. Although the soldier who posted those wise words was a member of the National Guard and was described as a proud Republican, his family likely had little interest in the actual results of that election. It mattered not that he was also the mayor of North Ogden, Utah. When Election Day arrived in Utah, so did an honor guard accompanying his remains. The flag-draped casket of Major Brent Taylor, husband of one, father of 7, and an inspiration to millions. Quote, "Utah weeps for them today," unquote, his state's lieutenant governor wrote of the Taylor family. He could have just added, as the nation does as well. A veteran of 2 tours in Iraq, Major Taylor was killed when a cowardly member of the Afghan National Security Forces opened fire on him during an insider attack near Kabul. Major Taylor did not need to serve in the military. Like all U.S. veterans of the global war on terrorism, he chose the military. And we continue to lose heroes every day in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and in military training accidents and missions around the world. Some are only teenagers. Many were just in their 20s. Regardless of their age, to their families, they are forever young, healthy, and strong. From the American Revolution to our current operations against terrorism, 1 million men and women have made the supreme sacrifice while serving in wars and conflicts. We honor all of them, not those with the highest medals or heroes who have fought the most famous battles. They all died so we can continue to cherish the things we love: freedom, country, and family. That is why we're gathered here on Memorial Day, to honor the memory of our fallen warriors who have given everything for their country. We are also reminded on this day that in each generation, brave men and women will always step forward and take the oath of allegiance as members of America's armed forces, willing to fight and, if necessary, die for our freedom. As Legionnaires, we are pledged through the preamble of our organization's constitution to, quote, preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in the great wars, end quote. The solemn promise is on the back of each American Legion membership card. Yet, we do not remember our fallen brothers and sisters in arms because of an edict or a ritual. We do so because we want to, and we want to be there for their families. Long after the battlefield guns have been silenced and the bombs stop exploding, the children of our fallen warriors will still be missing a parent. Spouses will continue to miss their life's partners. Parents will never stop grieving for their heroic sons and daughters that died way too early. We need to be there for all of them. Nobody can replace these fallen heroes, especially in the eyes of their families. But we can offer shoulders to cry on, assurances that their loved ones' sacrifice will not be forgotten. As Americans, we should remember that the freedom isn't free. It's only possible because our fallen heroes have paid its high price, a price paid which enables us to have ceremonies and observances like this in communities across our great country. On June 6th, the world will observe the 75th anniversary of the Normandy invasion. American Legion National Commander Brett Rystad will lead a delegation to the sandy shores of France, paying respects to the thousands of Allied heroes who gave their lives to liberate a continent. An exact number of U.S. troops that are buried in foreign countries is hard to pin down. The American Battle Monuments Commission, ABMC, has tried to keep a tally. They created and maintain 25 military cemeteries located in 10 foreign countries, including France, Belgium, the United Kingdom, the Philippines, Panama, Italy, Luxembourg, Mexico, Netherlands, and Tunisia. The number of soldiers buried in those cemeteries is approximately 130,000. The ABMC also has created 27 memorials to honor those marked missing in action during World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. They are located in the United States along with 16 other countries, including Cuba, Belgium, France, the Philippines, New Guinea, Morocco, and South Korea. About 124,000 grave sites at these memorials commemorate those missing in action. American military no longer buries soldiers abroad. The option to be buried overseas ended during the Korean War. Now the military tries to bring those who died back to U.S. soil. There are multiple Medal of Honor recipients buried in foreign cemeteries. One of the most famous is Theodore Roosevelt Jr., the son of President Theodore Roosevelt, who is buried in Normandy, American Cemetery in France. This cemetery houses the graves of 9,387 fallen soldiers, most who were killed during the D-Day landings. Theodore Roosevelt Jr. was buried there in 1955 after he died of a heart attack. He's best known for being the oldest soldier deployed during the D-Day invasion, where he helped lead troops in a successful operation. At 56, Roosevelt was partially crippled with arthritis and forced to fight in the battle with the aid of a cane. This handicap, however, didn't stop him from playing an important part in the victory at Utah Beach. General Leslie McNair's grave also resides at the Normandy American Cemetery. McNair was one of the two highest-ranking Americans to be killed in World War II and played a crucial role in training ground forces in the U.S. before they were deployed into combat. The Nyland brothers are also buried in the Normandy Cemetery. Steven Spielberg loosely based his 1998 Academy Award-winning film Saving Private Ryan on the Nylands. The four brothers all served valiantly in World War II. While the brothers ended up surviving the war, two brothers that is, for a long time it was believed only one had lived through the fighting. The oldest brother, Edward Nyland, was captured and imprisoned in a Japanese POW camp and was presumed dead until after the war ended. His youngest brother, Frederick Fritz Nyland, died many years after the war. The two brothers, Bob and Preston, both died in action during the invasion of Normandy. Bob heroically volunteered to stay behind to try to slow down German advances while the company retreated. Preston died the day after at Utah Beach. Congress enacted legislation in 1923 creating the American Battle Monuments Commission to honor the fallen American armed forces when they served abroad. Their annual budget is more than $75 million. This money is used for personnel costs, service fees, scheduled maintenance, repairs, supplies, spare parts, and other capital improvements. Rather than barbecue, races, or even parades, the real idea of Memorial Day is to remember those who served their country in a uniform and are no longer with us. The American Legion has been at the forefront of such efforts since its existence, no matter how far-flung the fallen comrade is. The American Legion Overseas Grave Decoration Trust Fund was established in the 1920s and provides all U.S. flags from emblem sales made in America, flown at cemeteries and burial sites in foreign countries where American troops are buried or otherwise memorialized. The first fundraising for this decoration of overseas graves took place in 1921-22, and the current organizational plan is still in force since 1935. Here are 8 important facts about overseas military cemeteries. 1, ABMC manages 25 cemeteries and 27 monuments, memorials, and markers. 2, sites are located in 16 foreign countries: the U.S. Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, the British dependency of Gibraltar, and 3 are located in the United States. 3, more than 218,000 individuals that died in World War I or World War II are buried or memorialized within ABMC cemeteries and memorials around the globe. 4, after World War I and World War II, families were given a choice in regards to burial location: bring their loved ones home for burial or have them buried in a permanent overseas cemetery managed by the U.S. government. 5, from World War I, approximately 30% of the families chose overseas burial. Slightly fewer families chose overseas burial after World War II. 6, burials within all ABMC cemeteries are arranged without regard to rank, race, or creed. 7, well-known Americans such as General George Patton Jr., poet Sergeant Joyce Kilmer, big band leader Major Alton Glenn Miller, and family members of U.S. presidents such as Lieutenant Quentin Roosevelt and Lieutenant Joseph P. Kennedy are buried or memorialized at ABMC sites. And finally, Flanders Field American Cemetery is the smallest ABMC site with 411 honored, and in Manila, American Cemetery is the largest with 53,486 honored. It's been an American tradition to display the Blue Star banner in a window of a home when a loved one is proudly serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. As American support troops deployed overseas in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, the Blue Star Service Band is a reminder that war touches every neighborhood. The Blue Star Service Banner was designed and patented in 1917 by World War I Army Captain Robert Quissier of the 5th Ohio Infantry. His 2 sons served on the front line. His banner quickly became an unofficial symbol for parents with a child on active duty. On September 24, 1917, an Ohio congressman read the following into the congressional record: "The mayor of Cleveland, the Chamber of Commerce, and the governor of Ohio have adopted this service flag. The world should know that those who give so much for liberty, the dearest thing in all the world to a father and a mother, their children." Blue Star Mothers and Gold Star Mothers organizations were established during World War I, and they remain active today. Blue Star banners were used widely during both World Wars, but were not embraced during the Korean War or Vietnam with the same enthusiasm. The American Legion rekindled that spirit with pride in our military following the 9/11 attacks. The American Legion also offers Blue Star banner corporate flags to corporations and businesses that have members of their businesses serving Those mothers that lost a son or daughter in service of the U.S. Armed Forces are recognized as Gold Star mothers. There's a program within the American Legion that supports these mothers. Gold Star families have had a nonprofit organization working on their behalf since 1928, with the establishment of an organization called American Gold Star Mothers, Inc. At the conclusion of World War I, this group lobbied Congress for federally funded paid pilgrimages for those mothers that lost a son or a daughter in the war and their remains remained buried in a foreign country and they couldn't afford to visit that gravesite. It took until 1929 to get legislation signed to permit government paid pilgrimages to overseas visits to the graves of their sons and daughters. The first pilgrimage was in 1930. The program ended in 1933, and some 6,693 women made the trip. Today, Gold Star Mother Day is observed the last Sunday in September. I've attended 2 of these programs. I want to tell you, it's quite moving. So I hope I've been able to share with you some events that the American Legion has participated in during our 100-year existence. And I want to deviate a little bit. There's something going on in this country. If you watched the Byron Nelson golf tournament on Saturday, so I don't know, I just happened to be channel surfing. I don't know what hole it was, but they stopped to play. Every golfer, every caddy, and they made a public announcement for the people in the gallery to take the men to remove their hats. There was a 30-second moment of silence in remembrance of fallen veterans. And then yesterday, I don't know what happened at the Indy 500, but I happened to watch the Coca-Cola 600 trying to figure out what those stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 mean. But at the end of stage 2, every car that was on the track pulled into the pits, the pace car, they all turned their engines off. A group of young men and women from Junior ROTC walked out and unfurled a Veterans Remembrance flag. And I didn't realize how long 30 seconds could be as they panned through the audience. So I hope that this is the beginning of a rekindled patriotic spirit in America. To me, it was enlightening to see that. It gave me the extra pride. So God bless you all. God bless America. And please, God bless our fallen heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. We'll now have placing of memorial wreaths. Please form a line along the north wall here, and I will call off for the organizations, and then you'll come up and the marshal will then give you directions. Alliance Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. American Legion Post 24, Sons of the American Legion Squadron 24. American Legion Auxiliary Unit 24. American Legion Unit 24 Juniors. Gold Star Mothers Unit 24. Are there any other wreaths to be presented? Marshal, you direct the percentage to the proper locations across the front. Ladies and gentlemen, please place your wreaths. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row that mark the place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to You, from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. Ye break the faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Presenters are excused to their seats. Dr. Barr will now lead us in the singing of God Bless America. Please stand.
Please join in the singing. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Military honors will be rendered by the Color Guard of Champaign Post 24. Hand salute. Two. Benediction will be given by Rabbi Tushel. Please uncover.
Thank you very much. Almighty God, Father of all mankind, we pause in this day of memorial to honor the memories of the heroic sons and daughters of our country who rendered their full measure of devotion at all the far-flung battlefields of the world in defense of these United States. They fought valiantly and courageously in the storms of fire and blood, so that we, the living, may enjoy the blessings of liberty, democracy, and freedom. May the deeds of our fallen heroes be an inspiration to us and to all the fellow Americans. Grant that their supreme sacrifice shall not have been in vain. Let this Memorial Day stimulate us to be mindful of our responsibilities and duties as citizens of this great republic. We pray to you, merciful Father, sustain the leaders of the United States in their efforts to remove the dark shadow of fear which lurks over the abodes of peace-loving peoples. Help all nations of our world to realize the cruelty of bloodshed and fertility of warfare. Inspire them to labor with all their might to banish conflict and strife and to establish world peace. Hasten the fulfillment of the visions of our prophets, when the work of the righteous shall be peace, and in effect tranquility and security forever. For nation shall lift up sword against a nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Let us say,
I
Amen.
want to thank everyone for joining us with us here this afternoon. I want to take the opportunity to thank the members of American Legion Post 24, the Auxiliary Sons of the American Legion, Boy, Girl, and Cub Scouts and their leaders, and others from the general public who came out to assist in placing the flags on the graves. I want to thank Mount Hope Cemetery for the use of their facilities and all who participated in the program. I would also remind those who presented the wreaths to please reclaim them before you leave. Following the program, there will be snacks and refreshments served at our post home, 705 Bloomington Road in Champaign, and everyone is welcome. Colors being posted, hand salute. 1, 2. This concludes our program, and thank you.